what happened was, and you guys will be able to relate to this, I, like many of you, have been involved with rescue, and I call myself a first responder. So I started out as a young guy working here in Ocean City, Maryland. I was lifeguard diplomat. I worked at the commander as the lifeguard, and then I went to the beach patrol, which, by the way, it's been in my heart. I know this is strange to say, but it's in my DNA, and it's been there for my entire life. So after that, I got involved with search and rescue. I was a Colorado Mounted Ranger for 13 years, horseback in the summertime, and we were all on ski-doos in the wintertime. I was also involved, I was an instructor for NAUI, scuba, so I've been kind of involved with it my entire life. Even today, I was just in Hawaii a couple weeks ago, and whenever I get on a plane, one of the first things I do, because of the great training that I've had previous, I get on the planes and I tell the stewardess, here I'm saying it, flight attendants or whoever's in charge of that I know, and if I can assist in any way as far as CPR or even in any kind of disturbance that goes on the plane. I'm an old guy, got white hair, but I'm still capable of helping a person if they're out of line. So it's been in my heart. But what happened? Like many of us, I then went to work, and I have involved in another company for a number of years. I moved 19 times, where I now live in South Padre Island, Texas. And at one point in my time, and it was 2006, where I retired. And my wife and I, living in South Padre Island, kind of looked at one another and we said, is this the last stop? And I said, it is. As far as I'm concerned, we were out on the beach, warm waters in the Gulf. I was as happy as could be. But at the same time, when you're used to working 12 hours a day, and you have to make payrolls and things like that, and then all of a sudden, that all got passed on to my son, by the way. He now has to do all that. So, but I was comfortable. I didn't need to go back to work. Happy guy. My wife happened to be sitting on the beach next to me and read an article in the Reader's Digest, and she said, hey Vic, she said, here's an article that says, this is a robot that can go out and save a person's life instantly, and it can jump a 20-foot wave, and it has the capability of doing incredible things. Well, my little ears went up like the doubting Thomas in our Bible, and I said, let me see that. So the first thing that I did, I said, Donna, I said, I'm sure that's just a new technology, not approved yet, and who knows if it really works. But my idea was, because of the doubting Thomas, I wanted to find out who was using it, who was the company that developed it, because if it was as good as what they were indicating in this little brochure in the digest, it would be one of the greatest revelations that life-saving has ever seen. So I called the company, which happened to be Hydronaulics, and I told them who I was, and I didn't get a call back. And about 3 days later, I got a call back, and the fellow said to me, who are you? And I said, well, actually, I said, I started the beach patrol in South Padre Island, and I've been associated with other beach patrols in Ocean City, Maryland, and I said, I'd be interested to see if your product really is good as what the Reader's Digest is indicating that it is. And the guy said, and I said, where is it being used, tested, and is it in production? And I said, I'd like to find out if you guys have been around very long and if you're going to be around very long. So the guy said, okay. He said, we'll be in touch with you and let you know. Well, I had Rory, which is one of the officers in the company, who called me and he said, hey Vic, he said, we're going to go ahead and put you in touch with the Los Angeles County Beach Patrol. He said, they've been testing it now, he said, for the last 2 years. He said, and they have a good handle on it, and you can do an interview. And also Depot Bay, Oregon, which is one of the most violent waters in the United States, that people in many cases can't even go swimming. They've been using it now and testing it for 2 years, and a number of other fire departments. So I said, so you're telling me that I can go ahead and call these guys, which I did. They gave me great interviews. So I didn't know anything about hydronaulics, and I was just trying to find out about who hydronaulics. I had a hard time saying the name. So I called them back, and they told me, they said, the owner's gonna call you. And I said, okay, who's that? Tony Mulligan. So Tony gave me a call, and he said, Vic, he said, let me tell you. He said, what I'm gonna tell you and what I'm not gonna tell you. He said, we're a military defense company. He said, we do literally everything for the military. We're the developers of the drones, the ones that are flying in Afghanistan, all over the world. He said, that was my invention. He said, and I've sold it to the government. He said, and our company is very secure. I said, well, how long have you been around? He said, well, let me tell you this. He said, as far as security, I'll give you a few of the people that are on our board of directors. I said, okay. He said, we have 2 admirals, 1 general, the retired Secretary of the Navy, the commander of our Pacific Fleet submarine, the former CEO of Bell Helicopter. So he gave me a whole list of people who believed in it. And I said, well, in the military, what are you guys doing? He said, well, I developed the drone technology. He said, and that's gone. But at the same time, I developed Emily. He said, Emily is incorporating, he said, a lot of electronics that we have in the drones. He said, and they allowed me to keep that technology into Emily. He said, my father before was involved in a command base in Arizona. He said, and as a young guy, I used to use the little model boats and the model airplanes. He said, and that's how I got involved with it. So he asked me, he said, would you be interested in talking to me? He said, because we do 90% of everything we do militarily. He said, and we are interested in introducing Emily on a commercial basis. I said, well, you don't know who you're talking to. I said, I got white hair, and I said, I'm an older guy. And he kind of indicated that. He said, well, I know more about you than you think I know. So that was a little scary, because I also found out that they are very involved. Everything we do is very government directed. It goes into the government. When we do quotations to any of the agencies throughout the world, it all goes to our government to make sure that everything is the way that it should be. So when I went and talked to the different Los Angeles Beach Patrol as an example, I asked them, I said, tell me the things that it doesn't do. Tell me what doesn't work. Everything has problems. What happens? He said, well, Vic, he said, one of the neat things about it, he said, if you run into a problem with Emily, he said, and if we have a component that's defective, he said, there's no nuts, bolts, screws, everything just pulls right out, and you snap it right back in. He said, the entire inside of this is completely replaceable, completely submergible. He said, you can go ahead, he said, if you have extreme water conditions, you can go ahead and flood this thing, and she'll still go into very, very aggressive water applications. And when I spoke to the chief up in Depot Bay, he told me, he said, in many cases our lifeguards, now they're operated out of the fire department. He said, but our lifeguards are not allowed to go into the water. He said, because it's so violent up there. He said, but what we do, he said, we go ahead and take Emily, he said, and put a lanyard on the back of Emily right here. He said, we send them out, and we send them to the people who have gone into the water, who we've already told never to go into the water. He said, the water's cold, it's nasty, and yet they're up there and they're going to jump in anyway. So he said, the first time that I sent Emily in, he said, we saved 2 people's lives, a dad who went in after his son. So this is what Emily's capable of. course, we put a flag on it, and we put the flag on top of Emily so that you can actually see Emily in operation when you get out into the waves, especially when she's operating on a tower. But Emily can go, we advertise or market the fact that it's 22 miles an hour. It'll actually go much faster than that. We have different Emilys. To give you an example, this is already approved by the United States Navy. Now, one of the things that I said, well, what's the Navy using Emily for? And they said, well, a lot of that's classified, I just can't tell you. They said, but I will tell you this. They said, you may be aware that the Somalis are coming in and they're stealing ships. He said, and they're getting them for tremendous ransoms. He said, in these little ponga boats. In fact, they had a movie about that not too long ago. He said, we can drop Emily from a helicopter or throw her off of a ship. He said, we've gone ahead and thrown her in at 75 feet. He said, so Emily is tough. He said, it's made of very high dynamic plastics, including 90% of it is Kevlar, which we all know that's bulletproof material. And it had to be that way so that it could go ahead and maintain going into very tough conditions, whatever that might be. So what they do, this happens to be a lithium LiPo battery that operates Emily, and this particular battery will last, by the way, and I'll have you guys come up here. She can actually go in, and for 30 saves, that's the average. So one of these batteries will actually go in, and you can use it 30 times to go in, rescue the person, and we never, ever replace a lifeguard. That's the thing. It's a partner to a lifeguard. But let's get back. So 30 times you can use one of these batteries before she gets tired, and then you have to put a new battery, and she'll let you know when she's tired. So what they do with all of these Somalis, they've become so sophisticated that they now put high-resolution telescopes on their ponga boats, and they can see our Coast Guard ships, or they can see our Navy ships way out there, and Emily can actually be operated by GPS. We can be right here in this room and be on our iPhone and direct Emily. We put high-resolution telescopes on top of Emily. By the way, we use petrol that will make her last for up to 6 days of operation. And she will go and observe. And then what she does is she observes, and if she comes in contact with one of the bad guys, she will go ahead and let our Navy or our Coast Guard know that we have spotted one of the bad guys who's going after one of the ships anywhere where they may be from any country in the world. And what do you want me to do? And if they can go ahead, it gives the navigational latitude, longitude, exactly where they are, where it's heading. So she's very sophisticated. At that point, if the Navy's in close enough contact, or the Coast Guard, they'll say, goodbye, Emily, take off, we got her. And they'll go after these bad guys and discourage them. They'll capture them, take them in, or else, if they can't, then they can give Emily some kind of command that I don't know what it is, and I'm not allowed to know what it is, and she can go and do whatever she's gonna do. But more importantly, how does it work as far as in our operations, in our daily lives, in our beach patrols? I've given you, I have to get my glasses again so that I can see this. I've given you a little bit of an idea as far as capability. Hydronautics, by the way, last year was nominated as the top company in the United States, along with 23, and there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds that applied. The top technology company that received a particular award called the Tibbets Award. So if you went and just looked up Tibbets Award, you would see Emily. Well, let me give you a little taste here as far as Emily, and then I'll tell you a little bit more.
Fish.
This is called
Fish
Emily Tough.
He used to wear